Hello, Patrice. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to agree to this interview. Is it okay if I record this interview?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. And then I'll only need 20 to 30 minutes of your time today at most. So,
Okay.
can you please introduce yourself if you do not mind?
Hi, my name is Patrice Clark. I am a student currently at Syracuse University. I am working on my master's in social work.
Okay. And then exactly what have you done? Well, let's not start there. What made you want to go into social work?
Um, I just wanted to impact the community. I've also wanted to do counseling, and social work is kind of like um a broader aspect of the counseling field. Like I'm able to do more things with social worker, like social work, my options are more open. Like, say if I decide I don't want to do counseling, then I can go into policies and things like that. So,
Okay, okay. And then have you done any social work like not social work, but have you done like any work in the past, like in your field at all?
actually, I'm currently in my internship where I am working at mental health services where I go to inpatient homes. So I manage two clients right now that have severe mental health issues, and I am their skill builder. So we work on, setting up skills to help them reach the goals that they have for themselves.
Okay, and then just some questions to shoot off the top. What are the types of positions are most often found in your field or career position?
So my career is very broad, but some of the common positions are you'll see social workers in schools where they're working with students, helping them able to navigate life, change their life around, or case management social work, where you have someone that is working with a case manager to help them better their life. Or even counseling, just going in and meeting with a licensed clinical social worker, where you guys are able to talk about your feelings and help process them into a healthy manner.
Okay, and then exactly how long would you say that like what's the level of education you need through college to be able to attend to your social work degree and be able to like work in schools and in these various positions, would you say?
So you can actually get your social work as a bachelor's. My bachelor's actually not in social work, it's in health sciences. Um, so I originally was going to go into the physician assistance field, or assistant field, but I decided not to. Social work was the better fit. So luckily my classes were able to transition over. So I was accepted into a master's program, so it just depends on the level that you want to go in with your schooling.
Now, do you feel like it since you didn't start off with social work being your bachelor's, do you feel like it was harder for you to get into the field and to like kind of grab the concept of understanding of the field, or do you feel like it kind of played a part, being in like the health and wellness field already and like social work dealing a lot with in some cases today mental health? Do you think that helped you out in the long run?
Sometimes. So there is a lot of terminology that I was not familiar with social work. So I do feel like I'm behind with some of those things compared to my other classmates. But it actually was not that huge of a transition because I did have a medical background. But admin things such as, documenting your patients, it's a little bit different than you would do it, say, like in the medical field. But it wasn't really a huge transition, but it was kind of hard to get accepted. I had to make sure that my classes all matched up with the criteria needed for social work.
Okay, and then what are some of like the general skills you would say is needed to not only participate in your field but excel in the field?
You have to be empathetic. You definitely have to be open, non-judgmental. Um, I would say patience. Social work, you're going to be dealing with all different types of people, right? You learn to meet people where they're at. Um, so like respecting people's autonomy, their free will, things like that. And I know I said like not passing judgment or not like quick to judge or having your own personal opinion on a situation. Those are some of the things that I would say.
Okay, and then do you feel like these are skills that you acquired like throughout your life from like previous life experience, like stuff that like you grew up with learning, or do you feel like your experience in the education and getting your social work degree through college and stuff like that is where you learn, or do you feel like this is something you learn from life experiences as well?
I would say a little bit of both.
Okay.
Um, I would say that my previous background that I had working with patients, it taught me like about HIPAA, patients' privacy, patients' rights, things like that. But the social work field, it definitely teaches you step outside of your comfort zone.
Okay.
So by stepping outside of your comfort zone, you're you never know what type of scenario you're gonna walk into. Things like that. So it just teaches you not to be judgmental or not to have like personal biases, which are really kind of hard. Um, but it just teaches you to be selfless. Like you're thinking about your client while also trying to maintain strong boundaries with your client, the appropriate boundaries.
Right. Okay. Okay. And then what are some like the positive aspects of the field that like you would say you love, like things that make you want to come into work each day and then or in your case school also each day and like learn more and to get out into the field and work?
So social work is kind of exhausting. You get burnt out because the supply and the demand, there's not enough of the supply to meet the demand of people. So your caseload gets taken on, or you get more of a caseload than you are for one person. It's cool being a student and in an internship because you get to see things from kind of like a fishbowl view of how it's gonna work and how like you're like, okay, this person does it this way. Ooh, I don't think that I want to do it that way.
Hmm.
So that's like one of the things that I like about actually being in my internship and being in school because I get to meet with my teacher and my classmates every week where we get to discuss like, okay, what did you learn in your internship? Or they'll give you like advice on how to get through a certain scenario. And it also teaches you to grow as a person. Like before, I used to work with the homeless at another one of my internships that I had, and I didn't know anything about the homeless. And the stereotypes that I had in my head of like, okay, this is the reason why they're living in poverty or going, and it's not true. You see people show up to a shelter and they've worked all day, but because of the economy, they can't afford to have a house, or they don't, or a place to live. I shouldn't say a house, or they don't match the criteria that's needed to be able to receive assistance.
Okay. And then okay. Okay. Also, what would you say are like some of the typical entry positions in the field, for somebody looking to get into the field, And I haven't done too much research myself, so what would you say like the most standard entry level position is to get into the field and kind of get your feet wet per se?
So there's two. So just because you graduate with your social work, excuse me, your social work degree, there's two different types. So there's like a licensed clinical social worker or a licensed social worker, I believe. So the difference is the licensed clinical social worker can actually see patients. They can actually like work independently with helping the patient develop like the skills that are needed, whereas a licensed social worker is kind of more like the paperwork, like the policy work. The only difference is like the licensed clinical social worker, depending on what state that you're in, it requires you to have more training, and not like training that like school training, but like training in that field. So for example, I live in Virginia, so for me to get my licensed clinical social work, I need an additional 3,000 hours of supervised, or 3,000 supervised hours. However, I'm eligible to graduate and take my exam for my licensed social work. That makes sense.
Okay. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And then I think you kind of hit on it already, but are there any like alternative methods to getting in the field, like other than the education route, or is like your social work license something you can only acquire? I know you just mentioned like through the hours and stuff like that, but is it something you can only acquire while obtaining your social work degree, or something you can attain like through not like trade, but like through in field work?
So there's different ways to get into the social work field, but you do need to have a certain level of education because you are dealing with people, right? So you want to make sure that you have the criteria that is needed to help deal with those individuals. Like you wouldn't want someone that's a mechanic to be prescribing you medication, you know. But you can do things like become a case manager where that's getting your feet wet, where they have training for that to see, like, am I gonna like this? Is this something that I want to get into? Like, for example, my internship I told you is at uh intensive level mental health where we go to people's houses. I personally am not a huge fan of that, but I was able to experience that and recognize, okay, I don't like this, but I'm still open to this. Like I want to work in the mental health field, but I don't want to go to people's houses.
Right. Okay, and then I just have two more questions for you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. What are some suggestions for someone you have looking to enter into the social work field?
So social work is a really rewarding field, but make sure that you want to do it because it does take a lot out of you. Burnout is real and burnout happens very quickly. So you also have to be able to, you go to work, I'm going to work, but I can't take the problems from work and bring them home. So separating those two. Um, I would say that's probably what I'm dealing with right now is balancing everything. Like balancing my home life, balancing my kids, balancing school. It's a lot. So
Okay, okay. And then just one last question. If you were given the opportunity to do it all over again today, what would you do differently? Would you still go into the social work field? Would you start earlier and instead of getting your bachelor's degree in like health and hospitality management, or would you go straight into social work?
my bachelor's in health science
Oh, sorry.
and
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. I don't think I would do anything different, to be honest. Because I like that I do have a little bit of a medical background.
Mhm.
And then I see it from a different point of view. Um, I would probably say the only thing I would do different was probably going to school full time instead of part time so I can graduate a little bit sooner,
Mhm.
but that's probably it.
Okay, well, all right. Thank you so much for your time today, Miss Clark, and have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Too. Bye.